What was the thing that you personally got from Bruce that he added to your life?
Well, he really taught me how to defend myself. I always felt inadequate, really, before I went there. I walked away from many scuffles. And after you learn to fight, then you walk away anyway. You found out I was doing the right thing all the time. I learned that for nothing. But there's a certain amount of satisfaction you get out of it. But you know, even though it's a physical thing, you're learning to physically do something. There's rewards in your brain that, you know, that is kind of unexplainable. You see the different sides of people, and you go through a lot of mental things that you wouldn't have got if you hadn't have done it, you know. I always like to think about the Boy Scouts as be prepared, and that's why I wasted my time. I used to ask myself, what am I doing this for? I got to go to work tomorrow, and I need my sleep, and I'm driving over to Chinatown in the dark in the middle of the week. Why am I doing this, you know? And I used to ask myself that question a lot. And then later, I would find the reward. I passed a drunk driving test because of a trick that he showed me on how to balance on one foot. That's why I did that. And there was a lot of rewards along the way that were like that. I thought, that's why I did it. Get in a little scuffle, these guys come to beat hell out of you, and I ended up, you know, and annihilated them. And I thought, that's why I did that. I just got my money back for all them lessons that I paid for, you know. But it really was cheap back in them days, too. I think we paid $20 a month. And Bruce didn't make any money out of that at all. That was, I guess Dan got a little bit for teaching the thing, and then the other was for the rent. It was a non-profit organization.
Did you hear much from Bruce after he left for Hong Kong?
No, not really. You know, I'm not the communicating, writing type, you know, but I always regret that he died too soon. I didn't get to go to Hong Kong, and he could have showed us where he lived, and, you know, and run down the streets of Hong Kong with him and all that jazz. I kind of missed out there. But he did his thing before he left. Is what's really fantastic. In such a short amount of time, he was recognized by almost the whole world, and just because of the media, movie things and everything. But he deserved it. He was unique. And he worked at it so hard. He worked out harder than any athlete for football or baseball, and they work at it full time sometimes. But he was a fanatic. He sacrificed everything for that.
Just have a question now. How did you find out about his death?
Oh, I heard it on television, and I refused to believe it. I thought, oh, they made a terrible mistake. I just flat didn't believe it, you know, and turned out it was real. It really happened, you know, and so there he went. But he was here, you know, and he had that back injury, and he did all the writing, and I guess he finished the Tao at that time and everything else. It was almost like that was part of the process to get that all written and take care of it before he left, you know. And you've got to stop and think how much he did, and he only, what, 32 years or so? Quite a bit.
And through Bruce, you've developed a close circle of friends through the JKD organization.
Yeah, that was the rules. They were JKD brothers, like them or not. Right?
Can you tell me a bit more about what your interpretation of what Bruce's method that he passed down, the Jun Fan, what was that all about? Can you tell me?
Well, it was really kind of a modified Wing Chun. For a long time, I thought that he had devised a lot of it, and that he, you know, had maybe even invented it. And then one day I looked up at a TV screen at Pete Jacobs' house, and I see a Wing Chun practitioner that was from the Yip Man school in Hong Kong. and it was all there. What we were taught in Chinatown was basically Wing Chun, and it wasn't changed as much as I thought. But he had more ways to pick up a little more power and be more maneuverable, but still it was basic Wing Chun footwork. And I was shocked when I seen that Wing Chun thing, and I thought we had a lot of stuff that he had did himself, but it wasn't changed that much. Jan Fan, that's his real name.
It was always said to be an individual kind of thing. So if you were training with him on a Sunday and things like that personally, did he give you personal things for you and didn't give things to other people, or you know, did he give it to everybody, or do you think he gave certain things for certain people? You know,
well, he
whatever.
could tell you what you could be good at. He could tell, you know, he had abilities that a lot of people don't know about. He told me, he says, I can watch somebody walk around for about 5 minutes. I can just about tell you how he can fight. So he knew what your physical capabilities were, you know. And he had things that we didn't have him around long enough to learn about all this. He is almost like he had a sixth sense, you know. He could tell you what you'd be good at, but they'd also throw out a lot of options. You could pick what you liked the best, you know. And we'd work on little things. Sometimes he would turn something that looked good on film for the Green Hornet thing, would work into one enormous effective kick or something. He developed it for television, and it worked out so good he could break your neck with a slap upside the head, and he could be maybe 6-8 inches from you and kick you in the face. You know, and he developed it because it looked flashy on television. He used to say, learn to hurt him with a flick, you know. And that sounds funny, but he says, you know, it's a pop. So it was loose. It was like snapping a towel or something, you know. I get to watch him. Sometimes he would develop himself on Sunday, you know. I can remember him dancing across the room barefooted, and you hold a 1x12 with 2 fingers. And he'd kick it with a side kick, but he hit it with mostly the heel, and he'd break it. He'd break that 1x12, you know. And I'd say, let me try that. And I'd dance across the room like he did. I'd propel, and I'd kick it, and it'd hit the chandelier, and it'd hit the fireplace. Never could I break it. I could drive it crazy, but I couldn't break it. He had developed that snap where he could pop that board and do it every time, you know. Unusual ability. His demonstrations were, I've seen several of them in the international thing. Blindfolded, he would start out Chisaw with a guy who knew Chisaw pretty well. And 15 seconds or less, he'd be behind him and have him in a stranglehold. And he's blindfolded. He told me one time, he says, all I have to do is touch him. That's it. If he could just touch you someplace, he's got you.
Now, what do you think about Junfan Jeet Kune Do today and how it's pushed out? And do you think Bruce would have been happy with it, or is it still there? You know, is it still pushed out there?
Well, what was it? The tree keeps growing. Some branches are long and some are short. Everybody's went different ways, and some are seeking the original stuff. That's good, but then are they satisfied with that? Bruce didn't mean for him to stop there. He meant to grow and add a little bit. But did he mean to run way away? I don't know. He didn't mean to go study everything. Even though he looked at everything, he didn't practice everything. It's just up to the individual, really. You know, what satisfies you, what's your motivation to go at it. He gave us a framework to look at, and if everybody had that first, it would make a lot better martial artists, because they can sort out what's good and what's not so good. Bruce used to say, it's not what you can learn, it's what you can throw away.